Hello, this is Tiana, and welcome to my channel, Tiana Talks, where I talk about whatever comes to mind. Discussions on this channel can have a wide range of topics, from my never-ending quest to find Bigfoot, or to my love for horror movies. However, for today's case, we're going to be discussing the indie voice actor Yagami Yato, or as referred to by her fans as CC. Before we get too far in this video, I will warn people that this will contain some triggering topics such as grooming, child pornography, rape, self-harm, eating disorders, and incest. I will put a warning before the mentioned topics come up, but I do think if you find any of this triggering, please know your limits and feel free to pause or stop watching at any time. Now, let's set the scene. It's July of 2020. You're scrolling through TikTok, trying to get some joy out of life after technically graduating from college. COVID cases are high, and you haven't seen any friends or family since March. You are now an essential worker at a grocery store because they were the only company hiring, and this year is starting to look like one of the worst years of your very young life. Finally, a funny video comes up on your For You page, and you don't understand it, but the name Yagami Yato comes up along with a character from the anime you watch. You like the video and keep scrolling, and the next thing you know, your For You page is overrun with fans of this Yato person. You see the hashtag PegHawks2020 trending on all of these videos, and soon you're googling Yagami Yato, and from there, all hope has been lost, and you've been sucked into the house of Yato. Or at least that's how it was for me. I don't know about you guys, but before she blew up on TikTok, I knew nothing about Yagami Yato. My first impressions of her were that she seemed like a cool person who was doing something that she enjoyed, and others enjoyed as well. I made a note of her and decided then if I would create a YouTube channel that one of my videos would be about her and her impact on both the anime and ASMR community. And then I promptly forgot about her, up until the end of September actually. I had a lousy depression spell, and it wasn't until I got a new job and started going back to therapy that I was able to focus on her again. So at that point, I signed up for her Patreon and began doing some research, and I can honestly say, while being clinically depressed sucks, it probably saved me from becoming a stan who would jump through hoops to defend a 30-year-old white woman. I want to clarify that this video isn't merely me hating on Yagami Yato or being an anti because she makes 18 plus content of anime characters. I listened to a lot of her audios on Patreon. I enjoyed her content and was initially willing to continue paying to stay subscribed to her Patreon because I wanted to support her and watch her grow as an artist. However, in light of everything I've learned in the process of making this video, I came to the informed decision that Yato won't be receiving my support any longer, and other people need to be aware what she did and what she will probably continue to do if they choose to support her. So who is Yagami Yato, you might ask? Well, she's a 30-year-old white woman from Michigan, and from what I could gather, worked at McDonald's at least before blowing up on TikTok in the summer of 2020. She does a series of audios for mostly male anime characters from My Hero Academia, Haikyuu, Assassination Classroom, and other animes, webtoons, video games, and shows. Trust me, if there is a character that people sent for, she has most likely made an audio for them. Hell, she even made audios of some self-insert characters and a gender swap version of herself that people enjoyed. This is to say, she has a pretty great vocal range, and I do give credit where it's due. Not everyone can do what she is doing, other than the actual English voice actors themselves, of course. So it's no surprise that at the time, many people felt like supporting her. When I first started making the script, she had over 900,000 subscribers on YouTube. However, that has fallen to 859,000 the last time I checked. Her Patreon had also taken a hit when I joined. She had over 36,000 Patreons. However, it has now fallen to 23,000. Overall, her impact on the anime community has been very polarizing. While many people support her, many people choose not to due to her past actions and the many situations she has failed to handle appropriately. So let's jump right into one of the biggest, or at least well-known controversies surrounding Yato and her content. The claims of her making not safe for work audios of minors. I'm going to start right now by saying I don't see a problem with aging up characters that are in their teens to adults in works of fiction to explore more adult topics. And I'm not just talking about the Devil's Tango, but other issues like the lack of job opportunities, home ownership, and taxes. Listen, I didn't think I was going to make it to the age of 21, so now that I am here, it does provide some comfort to read fanfiction of Danny Phantom also learning how to be an adult. That aside, you have to remember many adults were probably minors when they first got introduced to these characters. And most characters tend not to grow with us. And if an adult wants to read a fic where an aged up character is married, adopts a bunch of children, and occasionally does the spread eagle, then it shouldn't be that big of a deal personally. However, I get where the other side is coming from and hear why they don't like aging up characters in general. But to move along and address Yato's past actions, let's all pretend that we all think it is okay to age up characters for whatever purpose it may be. So this would mean that technically in making her audios, Yato has done nothing wrong. All her characters are now adults, nobody is sexualizing minors, and this video ends on a positive note on how much Yagami Yato is improving lately. Or I wish at least that was the case, but the problem is that Yato has stated on numerous occasions that she doesn't age up the characters. For example, on November 28 of 2020, she admitted, "Literally every character I have ever done is canon an adult. I don't age up anyone, they are literally already adults." This is a contradictory statement in itself. Yeah, for some of the characters, they are currently adults in canon. However, the good majority of the characters she does aren't adults yet. Like, they might become adults in the future of the series, similar to how Naruto became an adult later on. But characters like Bakugo, Deku, and Shoto are not adults. At most right now, they are just 16-year-olds who have become child soldiers. And because I thought this statement was weird, contradicting, and a little confusing, I did a little more digging and found this comment made by Yato on November 16th of 2020. And everything clicked together. In this comment, she states, "I do not age up characters, I tell their current age, not the flashback. You can listen if you doubt." So, if you don't know anything about My Hero Academia, there's this giant belief that the entire contents of the anime are a massive flashback because Deku says this line in episode 1 of the anime, "This is the story of how I became the #1 hero." That means that everyone is canonically adults since this is one giant flashback. However, the problem with this logic is that even if it's a flashback, we don't know their canonical age, or if Deku is telling the story as an adult. Like, have you seen the most recent manga's chapters? those kids will be lucky if they even manage to make it to 18. For all we know, this could be some vast fever dream Deku has before he takes his last breath. And besides, canonically in the storyline for both the anime and manga, they are still minors. So if she's not aging up minors, remember her words, not mine, then unfortunately she is making not safe for work content of children. However, I do question why she would make audios of the character Hanako from the series Toilet Bound Hanako Gun. And before you guys get on me for this, I know that he is a 50-year-old ghost. I do my research before saying stuff, but the fact of the matter is that he died at the ages of 12 through 13 years old, and you don't age as a ghost. Like, that's a common theme of being a ghost. You're stuck in the same age and mentality you died in with no way out, except for, of course, Danny Phantom, who is only half ghost. It doesn't matter if you have been a ghost for 1 year or 50. If you died as a child, then guess what? You're just a ghost child. While I wanted to give Yato the benefit of the doubt, it's kind of creepy when you think about the fact her audios of Hanako involve him being flirty or sharing kisses with him. Like, ew, I didn't even want to make out with other 13-year-olds when I was that age. Now you want me to kiss a 13-year-old ghost? No, thank you. Plus, things don't look too good for her when you consider that she uses thumbnails where the characters are shown as minors in the images. Hinata, Hanako, Karma, etc. The list goes on and on, so no wonder people are upset with her. It's like she doesn't even try to make it clear that these characters are in fact aged up and are now adults. Oh, and since we're on the topic of YouTube, can we please discuss how until February 3rd, she had not safe for work videos on her YouTube page where minors could quickly gain access? Yeah, I know people will come with the argument that, well, children shouldn't click on it. It clearly says 18 plus and not safe for work. But let's be honest, Yato didn't even try to do the bare minimum and age restrict her videos on YouTube. Why post your not safe for work videos on YouTube at all? She has a Patreon. Any responsible adult would post their safe for work content on YouTube and then their 18 plus content on Patreon. Yeah, you'll probably get some minors who will lie about their age and join her Patreon, but at least you're not giving them free access to 18 plus content and then justifying it by saying it's a more vanilla or a less spicy not safe for work version. I'm pretty sure 90% of the issues regarding her sexualizing minors would have been solved earlier if she had just posted safe for work audios on YouTube only. And before someone tries to defend her by saying she couldn't have been aware that having not safe for work audios on her YouTube channel would be an issue, I would like to direct everybody's attention to the Bungo Stray Dog incident. On November 14th of 2020, Yato released new audio of Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs to her YouTube and Patreon. This caused most of the fan base on both TikTok and YouTube to voice their complaints. Some of these complaints were valid and came from the fact that she is again posting not safe for work audios on YouTube where minors can have easy access, which is kind of a shitty thing to do when the fandom has a large audience of children. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. However, some of these complaints did come from the fact the characters are based on real people. For instance, Dazai is named after Osamu Dazai, a Japanese author considered one of the foremost fiction writers of 20th century Japan. Many of his most popular works, such as The Setting Sun and No Longer Human, are considered modern-day classics in Japan. Chuya is named after Chuya Nakahara, who was a Japanese poet active during the early Showa period. This is an ongoing theme in Boku no Stray Dogs, where the characters are based on authors from both Japanese and Western cultures, with their powers sometimes being references to literary work. However, I am going to say the hate she got from this was utterly unjustified. Listen, other than their names and specific references thrown in there by the author, there is nothing in common with the show's characters and the real life people. The literary author, Osamu Dazai, wasn't running around committing crimes before joining a detective agency and solving them. I will go on a limb and say people use this argument because they couldn't use the excuse she was sexualizing minors, because Dazai is an adult and they needed a more valid opinion than going into the real reason they were upset and why I was upset when I heard she released a Boku no Stray Dogs audio, which is the fandom didn't want her interacting with the anime as a whole, which makes sense. At this point, many of Yato's audios had been less than stellar and entirely out of character, in my opinion. So when she released the Dazai audio, I was already not impressed and dreading hearing it. And I had my doubts confirmed when I did listen to it. Another reason is that Yato is a highly controversial individual in the fandom she does do audios for, so it's safe to say the relatively quiet Boku no Stray Dog fandom didn't want any drama that could come from Yato and her supporters. However, these aren't good enough excuses or arguments for people to tell another person they aren't allowed to make fan content on a particular anime or show. So I'm going to say the hate was utterly unjustified in these two cases. So there it goes. But instead of responding to this in a calm and collected manner, Yagami Yato made a community post stating that she deleted her not safe for work audios for Boku no Stray Dogs only and sort of threw a fit. So you can see she clearly states, in light of the drama, you know what, fine, I'll only do safer work of the Boku no Stray Dog characters here. Y'all haters just leave. This is supposed to be a place of comfort and a place for kindness. Please don't go into it and bring your toxicity to a non-toxic fandom that has nothing to do with you or your fandom. Okay, I know it sucks to receive backlash, especially when it's unjustified, but this response is immature. It's something I would expect from a 13-year-old, not a 30-year-old adult. Also, people telling you not to post not safe for work audios on your new YouTube channel when minors can easily access it aren't toxic or hateful. It's smart and is protecting yourself and others. Yes, you can't control what people choose to click on, but you can manage your content and what platforms you put it on. Putting not safe for work content on YouTube when you know a good portion of your audience are minors isn't a good look, no matter how much you spin it. And acting like people are entirely unreasonable when they tell you to take it down doesn't gain you any favors. And since we are talking about her audios, I want to briefly discuss the triggering and very inappropriate content Yato has made in the past, such as the Shoto Endeavor and listener audio that Yato claimed she made for a friend. Which, okay, she did clarify after the fact that Shoto and Endeavor weren't sexually interacting with each other. Still, I do wonder what was going through her head when she thought it would be a good idea for a father and son to be competing for you romantically and sexually. But if that's not enough for you, let me remind you she had also made a self-harm audio where the character manipulates you into not harming yourself by threatening to harm himself, which is probably the most toxic thing imaginable. And don't believe me? Here's an excerpt from the audio she took down after receiving backlash. You can pause and watch here. So here comes my favorite part of the video, and this is my favorite part because this is a controversy that we are probably all familiar with. It's a controversy that everybody who is relatively popular on the internet or relatively famous tend to go through, and years later have to like come out and apologize and be like, it wasn't me, or I was younger and it's the environment I was raised in, which is not an excuse, but they use that as an apology, and then we forget about it and then accept them back in. Well, not me, but other people. So we're going to talk about Yato and her instances of racism. So Yato claims to have a zero tolerance for racism in her community, which is a good thing to say, but I wonder if she thinks using a Asian filter to post pictures on Instagram is a form of racism, which it is Asian fishing or yellow face if you want to go the historical route. However, I know most people are like, well, she didn't mean it with ill intent, or she like was just having fun, so let's give her a pass. And I'm not Asian, so I can't give her a pass. I know people who are Asian who have saw her Instagram and have said, yeah, fam, that's like pretty racist, but they're not the spokesperson for the Asian community, I guess, which is true, just like I'm not the spokesperson for the Black community. And let's just move on from that. Like, let's give her a pass. She hasn't done anything problematic, except that's where you're wrong. So you guys may be aware of the Devil's Shadow Todoroki audio, and if you're not aware, then you're probably one of the few lucky ones, because I had to actually sit down and listen to the whole thing to get an understanding of it. And because I took that sacrifice, I'm now going to give you a brief summary of what happened in that audio, or a brief summary of what the audio is about. So in this audio where Shadow Todoroki is a devil and you as the listener is an elf, she made some interesting choices, and one of those choices was saying that the audio was drawing parallels / based on Black Lives Matter, which is not a good idea in general. Like, why would you make an audio about discrimination of a devil and then say it's like you were inspired by Black Lives Matter, or that it was based on Black Lives Matter? Are you trying to like draw some parallels to Black Lives Matter? That makes me think you don't know what Black Lives Matter really is. And listen as an actual Black person comparing the discrimination and murder of Black people to a fictional character in a fantasy setting, especially when that character is a devil, is a racist choice. So of course, people called her out. One of those people being a TikTok user by the name of Itchy Baby. Yagami Yato responded to her and other users on TikTok, claiming she's Native American and that Itchy Baby spoke up over her. So let's read one of my favorite responses from Yagami Yato about her being Native American. In this, she states, "Not even 20% white. I'm 73% Chippewa Native American. Yes, I'm fairly light for a Native American, but that doesn't make me white." There is a lot wrong with this statement. One being Native American isn't a get out of jail free card for being anti-Black. You can still do and say things that can harm the Black community and be racist or insensitive. For example, as a Black person, I can say ignorant or racist stuff about Native Americans, Asian people, and other minorities. So if her ties to this tribe are this strong, shouldn't she know this? However, I can admit that I might be wrong, and if there is some concrete proof she is Native, I'm willing to release a statement stating that my allegation was false. But the fact of the matter is that Yato has never brought up any issues within this community that she claims to be a part of, like not even on Indigenous Peoples Day, which you would think she would do the bare minimum. And she only uses it as a trump card or a cute little backstory thing. Furthermore, she made a pretty interesting community post on YouTube when people were continuing to call her out on her racism. And I say interesting because she made a few key choices in this post, and I'm gonna post it on the screen so you guys can read it. But there are a couple of things I want to point out. One, she basically used the I have friends of color excuse, which is never a good indicator of whether you're racist or not. And when people tend to use this excuse, I tend to believe that they are racist. She brought up that she was making a minority character, the main character in one of this webtoons that she's creating, which is like a good thing. But the character is obviously black. And in this long post, not once could she just say a black person. Listen, there is a lot going on with this post, and I have a lot of thoughts. But I'm just going to let Ichi Baby do it for me because I think she sums it up very clearly.
So that I would never talk about Yagami Yato on my account again, but she just really pissed me off. You can pause to read these if you need. The way that she's trying to use this comment strip as a way to appease black people for the disgusting actions that she pulled last year is unacceptable and disgusting in itself. The way that she can't even say black people but say I support Black Lives Matter is just contradictory at its finest. Not 80% of my cast is dark-skinned with natural hair. Ma'am, you're describing a black person. Please say the word black. What the fuck? And it's weird for you to support Black Lives Matter but just equate it to a fucking charity case that you write off on your fucking taxes. Black Lives Matter is not a fucking charity. Black Lives Matter is not some fucking charity work that bitches do because they feeling helpful. People are dying at the hands of the police, okay, bitch? For you to be like, it's my go-to charity. Bitch, we're not a charity case. We are not some charity case that you just donate and write off on your taxes. And again, with the my extended family faces racism. Girl, we don't know what your extended family is. If they ain't black, I don't care.
Okay, for this part of the video, I have decided to make a completely separate video for two reasons. One, the drama in Yato server is long and there are so many issues that it can be its own video. And two, I want this video to primarily focus on what Yato has done personally. And while Yato contributed to a lot of the problems in her servers by ignoring issues, some of these issues involve things that mods and admins did and not Yato herself. So I'm going to give a brief explanation of everything you need to know about Yato's servers and sum it up here for you. 1. Yato has two servers. The first one is a public 13+ server called Yato's Academy, and the second one is a Patreon only's 18+ server. Yato's Academy came first and at some point did had a not safe for work section for adults. But as far as I'm aware, it is supposed to be completely safe for work now. The not safe for work server called Yato's House was created in September of 2020, but Patreon members didn't gain access until October. 2. Remember how we said that there was an adult only section in the safe for work server? Well, guess what? Yato had admins that were teenagers and had access to these parts of the server. Plus, to get access to the section, you needed to verify. What was the verification process, you may ask? It was proving you had a Patreon. Already, I know this isn't a good verification process because the minors who signed up for her Patreon now had access. I have reason to believe that Yato herself or admins would give children access to the not safe for work section anyway, whether they had proof of being a member of Patreon or not. But we'll discuss that in another video. 3. Even in her not safe for work server, there were minors there and she or her admins knew about it and did nothing to kick them out. I'm talking about these kids' family members coming forward saying that, hey, that's my relative. They are teenagers and shouldn't have access to this server. And I have proof that they used a fake ID / stole their relative's ID and that they are related to me. And her admins and mods would refuse to kick them out. 4. Yato's admins and mods would groom and harass people on her servers. Sometimes people would go to Yato directly and tell her about it, and she would victim blame or do nothing to fix the situation. And 5. In general, Yato tends to ignore her servers and treat her admins and mods team like shit. This is probably why she goes through different mods and admins as if they are air. From what I've gathered, even when her team is good and given her good advice, such as you can't have a not safe for work only server without some form of verification or we might all go to jail, or don't send not safe for work audios to minors because it is illegal and you can get in trouble, she tends to ignore it and act clueless and remove members that don't follow her blindly if they don't quit first. So that's all you need to know about her servers. Again, I promised to make an in-depth video about the issues surrounding her Discord servers, but that will be at a later date. On January 31st of 2021, Yato made an announcement. Fun news all, while it's by no means confirmed, I may be voicing in Season 5 of BNHA dub. Not sure of exact details, but we'll keep you all posted if I get more info. Love y'all and please have a wonderful rest of your day. Dabby Hawks, almost done. This led to 3 primary responses: happiness and excitement from her fans, anger and disgust from her non-fans, and confusion for everyone else. I don't know about y'all, but I was in the confusion camp because it didn't make any sense. Most people know that if you are in the middle of auditions for a voice acting job, you're supposed to keep quiet about it until the studio gives you the green light to go forward. And if you spill the beans too early, you can find yourself not considered at all or fired. So why post this message in the first place, especially when you have no confirmation yet? Second, she doesn't have a good relationship with the current English voice actors for My Hero Academia. Her fans tend to go to voice actors on TikTok and ask them to call them by the nicknames that Yato uses in her audios, making the voice actors very uncomfortable. I'm not blaming Yato because it's impossible to control every member of her fan base, but I am blaming her for the fact that she never once made a post on her Patreon or YouTube telling her fans to stop harassing the English voice actors. Just one public statement that states, "Hey, I've noticed that a lot of my fans have been going to the English voice actors for My Hero Academia and asking them to say the nicknames that I use in my audios. Please stop doing that as it makes the voice actors uncomfortable." See how easy and simple that was? It gets to the point and addresses the issue. But moving on, I think it's fair enough to say that Funimation wouldn't risk making their voice actors uncomfortable, allowing Yato to become a member of the cast. Plus, Yato is such a controversial member in fandom spaces already that I doubt they would take the risk of losing viewers with her presence on the show. Which was proven to be true. Once people got word that she might be on Season 5 of My Hero Academia, a series of TikToks were made of people stating they wouldn't watch the English dub of the show. This prompted a response from the official TikTok of Funimation in the comments of one of these videos, which you can see here. Funimation fulls on declines any contact they had with Yagami Yato, and then afterwards, Yato made 3 community post edits as a follow-up to the announcement. The first edit emphasizes how it's not confirmed and doesn't care about getting accepted or not. The second edit explains that a mutual tried to get Yagami Yato an opportunity to work in the My Hero Academia dub and claimed that she spoke too soon. The third edit also emphasizes how she never been in contact with Funimation and confirmed that she isn't getting that confirmation anytime soon. Oh, and for people wondering why I only showed a screenshot of only one edit made to her post, it's because shortly after, Yato deleted all of her community posts on YouTube, and we'll get to the reason why. So while Yato was dealing with the fallout from her My Hero Academia announcement, something else was going down on Twitter. On February 1st, a Twitter account was created by a user who I will refer to as A, and this thread describes how Yato began this friendship with A, who was 17 years old at the time, and Yato knew was a minor, as indicated by screenshots posted on the Twitter thread. However, that didn't stop her from forming an inappropriate relationship with this person and even sending not safe for work audios to this person while knowing they were a minor. I'm assuming that most of you are aware of the Twitter thread in question, so I'm not going in depth about everything said, but if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I posted a link to the Twitter thread in the description. However, this Twitter thread did inspire more victims to come forward, and this is the part of the video in which I'm going to vouch for them, and I'm not talking about the people who replied to A's original thread with their experience dealing with Yato and her server publicly. I'm talking about the people who came to the blog's DM wishing to stay anonymous because they were scared of getting attacked and are still minors. I'm going to leave a warning right here that this does contain some sensitive topics, so feel free to stop or pause at any time. The first victim, who I'm going to refer to as B, was 13 when meeting Yato, and states, "I was a part of Yagami Yato's server before they even hit 10k? I became a mod pretty quick and fixed up the server because there were so many just bad channels in general. I would make their thumbnails and I still have all the assets I would use on my old PC. These were thumbnails I would make. Yato eventually got another artist who could copy my style and hired them as a backup, who later replaced me entirely. By being a mod and making thumbnails, I and Yato became kind of friends. They would call me sis and give me nicknames and stuff. They would only ever pay me in smut audios from their Patreon that they would send to my email account as payment. They would tell me about how they would get wet by just recording their stuff, and they would also tell me stuff about their genitals. We had such a weirdly close friendship, and they also encouraged the making of a Not Safe for Work channel on their server when they were aware they had a mostly minor audience. Here are some of the screenshots of Yato telling a minor of how her audios make her wet and talking about her genitals. I was able to verify via another former mod that Victim B was a mod and did make Yato's thumbnails. However, at the time, they did claim to be 16 years old, so Yato probably wasn't aware that they were 13 at the time. Yet, that doesn't give her an excuse because at 16, an adult should not be telling a minor about their genitals or describing how recording their audios make them wet. An adult should very much not be sending said minor Not Safe for Work audios as payment for making them thumbnails. Another minor, who is 12 at the moment, states, "I can't tell if our friendship is questionable or not, since I'm 12 and she is 30. The only thing she ever told me was age is just a number in my eyes, and now that I think about it, it's pretty weird how she never cut things off or anything with me. I don't want to say my thing is so important, but it's weird. Also, my experience with the server wasn't good either." And most stories continue on that same line. People that Yagami Yato knew were minors at the time, ranging from the age of 12 to 17, would chat with Yato and she would begin telling them personal information about her life. These talks would involve conversation about how her audios made her wet or talk about her genitals. No matter how you spin it, it's inappropriate for any adult to have this type of conversation with a minor. Especially because Yato would have been around 28 or 29 at the time of these convos, and some of these discussions were taking place as late as 2020. She is comfortable sending Not Safe for Work audios to minors, which is illegal and something she can go to jail for, whether she knows it or not. And let me just get this straight. She does know because her former mods and admins had told her before that sending Not Safe for Work audios to minors is illegal, but she still chose to do it. And I would like to add, it doesn't matter if the minors in question asks for the audios. Yato is an adult. She should know better and set down firm rules of not sending explicit content to anyone under 18. This isn't a case of someone lying about their age or anything. In each case, Yato knew the people she was dealing with were minors and still decided to send them inappropriate and sexual messages and Not Safe for Work audios. And that's pretty damning in itself. So what happened after all this evidence and accusations? How did Yato respond? Well, she deleted all of her community posts for one. She then either deleted her social media or set it to private. And I'm talking about Insta, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, everything. She then changed her Discord profile, which included her tag. She then apologizes to Victim A. And I'm going to put the apology up on the screen so y'all can read. But Victim A replied to Yato asking her to acknowledge that the screenshots and what they said was correct. And in true Yato fashion, instead of owning up to what she did and her mistakes, she chose to lie and deflect. So on February 3rd, she released a statement to both her Patreon and YouTube community tab. And this is a long apology. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to put it on the screen so y'all can read it. But it was not a good apology, because what Yato did was she went and deflected. She said very much made it seem like the person who originally come forward had a crush on her, which I can't confirm or deny, but that doesn't stop the fact that everything that Yato did, not only to A, but to B, and then the 12-year-old, and like other people who have came forward, has been clearly inappropriate, and is not something you do to people who are minors are younger than you. Like, it doesn't matter what she said. Like, she needs to acknowledge the fact that she was sending not safe for work 18 plus content to minors. She was talking to minors about her genitalia, which is all types of messed up. And see, like, telling a minor, whether you believe they're 16, 13, 12, 17, how your audios make them wet, let me see. It's not a good fit. Plus, I'm gonna go on a rant, but I'm pretty upset about the fact that she was actually paying a minor with not safe for work audios for creating content for her. Like, I get making YouTube videos is hard. Like, this whole YouTube video, doing the research, like filming, like editing, it's been hard. I am so thankful to my friends and all the people who have helped me along the way in this process. And like, for some of them, like, I had to pay them because like it felt fair and it felt right, because they are taking time out of their day to like help me out. And I talked about it and discussed it with my friends, and we came to agreement. But the amount of disrespect to decide that a form of payment is sending somebody not safe for work audios that they shouldn't have in the first place. Yeah, no, please justify that. Somebody like justify, explain it to me. How do you think that sending a 16-year-old not safe for work content is a form of payment? Anyway, that's the end of my mini rant. Sorry about that. In this public statement, she states that the allegations are false and claimed that she was just trying to build up friendship with viewers, which I don't know about you, but when I was forming friendship, none of them involved me being very overly weird and talking about sexual things right off the back. Like, yeah, now I'm an adult and I talk about sexual things with my friends and make sexual jokes, but we're adults. We can do that with each other. We're in the same age demographic. I'm not going out to minors, and trust me, I'm friends with people who are younger than me and are technically not adults. I would not be caught dead doing any of this, and I do try to establish clear boundaries. So Yato, being a 30-year-old woman, is seemingly incapable of establishing clear boundaries. Like, that doesn't sit right with me at all. It just doesn't. So in conclusion, I'm not really sure how to end this video. I kind of wanted to end it on a positive, bright note, but when you're talking about such heavy topics, I don't think there is a positive way to end it. I think the one bright side in all of this is Yato's Academy. On February 14th, an announcement was sent out, and the Discord server is going to come to a close within a week of when the message was posted, which I think is actually good, because it seems like a lot of the issues stemmed from that original Discord server. I'm not sure about the Patreon server. That's gonna stay up, I think, but I hope that the mods and admins who are still in the Patreon server decide to do due diligence and please, like, kick the minors who are in there out. What I really want from this video is I just want people to come to their own conclusion or decision on whether they're going to continue supporting Yato or not. I feel like there are some hardcore fans that are not going to believe anything I say, and this isn't for them because I know I can't convince them. Nothing can at this point. But for the people who are on the fence, who are still indecisive, this video was for you. I want you to look at everything I presented and decide for yourself, like, do you want to continue supporting her? In general, if you still haven't spoke up about your experiences with Yagami Yato, feel free to DM Yato's Confessions to have your story heard if you feel comfortable enough sharing. We are trying to be as respectful when it comes to the blog and everything and the people who do come forward. So if you just want to vent and you don't want your story out there in the public domain, even though we're trying to take precautions and like block out people's name and then post them out so like people are safe and are not getting like attacked or anything, feel free to just come in and vent and we'll keep a secret. Like, it doesn't have to go out there. And please just be sure to share this video with others who may have not seen it so you can spread awareness as much as you can. There's a lot of people who are going to be new to the community who are going to not know what Yagami Yato is or what she did, especially I feel like in the coming months. And I want them to be aware before they kind of like join her fan base. So they have like a clear opinion of who she is and what she has done as a person before they get misguided or led astray. And that's it. I would like to thank everybody who has helped me out on this video. I'm going to give credit where credit is due, so check them out in the description. Like, you guys have been amazing. Like, I couldn't have done this without you, and when I say I couldn't have done this without you, I mean I probably would have given up. Like, anyway, this is Tiana signing off, and love y'all.